Long before the skyscrapers of St. Louis pierced the Midwestern sky, there rose a different skyline, one built not of glass and steel, but of earth. Towering over the floodplains of the Mississippi stood Cahokia, a city of mounds, plazas, and timber palisades. Between about 800 and 1600 CE, the Mississippian people created one of the most advanced and extensive civilizations in pre-Columbian North America. Their monuments, massive, earthen pyramids, tell the story of a flourishing society whose legacy still whispers through the soil beneath our feet. Around the year 800, as Europe struggled through the early Middle Ages, the river valleys of what is now the southeastern and central United States stirred with change. Communities that had long been farming corn, squash, and beans began to cluster together in larger towns. These were the seeds of the Mississippian world, a culture that stretched from the Great Lakes to the Gulf of Mexico, from the Appalachian valleys to the plains of Oklahoma. Life revolved around the great rivers, the Tennessee, the Arkansas, the Illinois, and above all, the Mississippi. These waterways weren't just sources of food, they were highways of trade, exchange, and ideas. Canoes laden with copper, seashells, mica, and finely woven textiles slipped through the wetlands, connecting people across hundreds of miles. Around 1050 CE, near the meeting of the Missouri and Mississippi rivers, a new city began to rise. We call it Cahokia, though its original name remains a mystery. Over the next century, it became the heart of Mississippian civilization, the largest city north of Mexico at the time. At its peak, Cahokia covered nearly 6 square miles and housed perhaps 20,000 people, larger than medieval London. The skyline bristled with more than 100 earthen mounds, some shaped like pyramids, others in gentle ridges or flat-top terraces. At the center stood Monk's Mound, the largest earthwork in the Americas. It soared 10 stories high, built by human hands using over 22 million cubic feet of earth, carried basket by basket. Cahokia wasn't a rough frontier town, it was an organized metropolis. Wide plazas stretched between mound complexes. Wooden posts marked calendars for tracking the sun's movements. Archaeologists call one of these structures Woodhenge. Homes made of wattle and daub lined the city's neighborhoods. People planted corn in rich alluvial soils and raised squash and beans to fill out their diets. The fields outside the city fed the masses, while artisans crafted exquisite shell ornaments and copper figures for trade. Everywhere, life pulsed, markets, feasts, and ceremonial processions weaving the rhythm of urban existence. The Mississippians saw their world as layered, earth below, sky above, and water beneath both. The great mounds embodied this sacred order, linking the people to celestial forces and ancestral spirits. The ruler, often seen as a divine intermediary, conducted ceremonies from the heights of Monk's Mound. Red-painted posts gleamed in plazas during festivals. The birdman, a divine being of transformation and balance, appeared on carved shell gorgets found in burials, part human, part falcon, a symbol of power and rebirth. For these people, the cosmos was alive and interconnected, every harvest, storm, and sunrise infused with meaning. Cahokia's influence rippled out in every direction. Across the southeast, from present-day Alabama to Arkansas, other mound centers rose: Moundville, Etowah, Spiro, and dozens more. Each blended local traditions with the unmistakable signature of Mississippian culture: platform mounds, plaza-centered towns, and a distinctive art style of swirling motifs, feathers, and lightning. Trade networks carried finely worked ornaments made from Gulf Coast shells, Great Lakes copper, and Appalachian stone. Far beyond Cahokia's borders, the Mississippian system tied together countless communities through goods, symbols, and shared stories of the sacred world. Yet even a city of earth can tremble. By the 1200s, Cahokia showed signs of strain. Archaeological evidence suggests environmental pressures, flooding from changing river patterns, deforestation for fuel and construction, perhaps even climate shifts in the period later called the Little Ice Age. Inside the city, inequality grew between elite and commoner. Palisades, massive wooden walls, were built around the central precinct, hinting at unrest or fear of attack. Food shortages, disease, or social tensions may have loosened the city's bonds. Slowly, the plazas that once echoed with celebration began to fall silent. By the mid-1300s, the people of Cahokia had dispersed. The great mounds remained, silent guardians of a vanished era. But while the city emptied, Mississippian traditions did not vanish. They lived on among descendant groups like the Natchez, the Creek, and others, carrying the symbols, stories, and social structures into new times and places. When Europeans first explored the region centuries later, they met societies whose art and ceremonies still echoed those earlier ages of mound builders. For centuries, locals puzzled over the immense earthworks dotting the Mississippi Valley. Who built them? Were they natural hills? Only in the last 2 centuries have we begun to understand their real story. Excavations revealed layers of carefully planned construction, broken pottery, charred hearths, and even footprints from ancient builders. In 1982, Cahokia Mounds was declared a UNESCO World Heritage Site, recognition that these earthworks hold global significance. Today, visitors climb Monk's Mound and look out across fields that once pulsed with ceremony and song. The earth beneath them remembers every hand that shaped it. The Mississippian culture teaches us that monumental achievement doesn't always mean stone cities or empires of conquest. Sometimes it's measured in the patience of those who build mountains from clay, who turn the soil into sacred geometry. It reminds us that North America's story long predates Europeans, that a sophisticated civilization thrived here, guided by vision, artistry, and faith in the cycles of nature. When the sun dips past the Mississippi horizon and shadows lengthen across the mounds, you can almost feel their presence. The hum of ancient voices, the echo of drums, and the enduring heartbeat of a people who turned earth into eternity. This is the story of the Mississippians, builders of Cahokia, shapers of earth, and keepers of one of humanity's great chapters. Their legacy endures, not in stone, but in the living memory of this land.